Good afternoon, ladies, and
Hello, great.
welcome to the first Ladies Learning to Lead Cyber Safety webinar. So during this webinar, we are going to do some cool things and talk about some amazing topics that are trending right now, things that you need to know and be aware of while you are online so that you are safe online. And for those educators and parents and family members out there who want to know about these things, we're here for you too. So we're really excited to bring this webinar to you. And today we're giving away $50 gift cards to the girls that come online. And we are excited about that. So this is a webinar like none other, where you get to receive something cool while you learn something cool. So now I would like to, before we begin, we'll do introductions and go one by one. If you would like to introduce yourself just in the chat, go ahead and let me know and we can unmute you so you can say hello. And then I would like to introduce our speakers. So if anyone is on the line now who would like to introduce themselves, please let me know.
I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Alex Dreyer, and I have been working with Ladies Learning to Lead for a few years now. I help and work with a lot of the events, mainly the conference that we put on every year. Unfortunately, we've had to put that off the table for now, but we're excited to have this event instead.
Great, thank you, Alex.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire and I'm the media coordinator for L3. I recently started in May and I just handle all of the social media platforms, including our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter and Pinterest account.
Great, thank you, Claire. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves aside from the speakers? Great. All right. We will move on. And I am Samantha Vance. I am the founder and executive director of Ladies Learning to Lead, going on 10 years now. This is our 10th year, our anniversary. And we are so excited to have you all here today, not only for this webinar, but to understand more about who we are. We serve middle school and high school girls across the state of Florida and the state of Georgia. And we've been doing that for a number of years, where we have an annual leadership conference that serves between 60 to 150 girls every year. Young ladies that come from all over who want to learn more about how to prepare for college, careers, and life. We are really excited about that event every year. And like Alex said, that's something we had to cancel because of COVID this year. However, we are coming back next year, ready and excited to bring you something really good to knock your socks off, because even though we'll be in the 11th year, it'll be the 10th annual leadership conference. So 10 is big, and we look forward to celebrating big with each of you. We also have other programs that we really adore that are near and dear to my heart. Our career mentoring program, where young ladies actually go on the job every other month and shadow their mentor. That is a curriculum-based program that was written by Dr. Therese and myself. The young ladies in that program shadow, and they also learn how to prepare for college and careers with also life pieces. So they get a little bit of everything in that 10-month program where they're one-on-one with their mentor. We also have a new program, which is our entrepreneurship program, and that's in partnership with the Small Business Development Center right here in Tallahassee. Very exciting. We also have executives from IBM, formerly IBM, and other people who are supporting us in that effort. And we have an exciting business that myself and 8 young ladies have started, and we can't wait to share what that is going to be with the world. So we are lady boots on the ground with that, and excited to hit the business market with a new product and a new business starting out of Florida with females leading and a cool product for women and girls that will also support women and girls with our proceeds. So those are the two main programs that we have, as well as our signature conference. And of course, like I was sharing with some of you earlier, we do our Dress for Success, where we train the girls on what to wear and how to wear it for different occasions. And we actually provide clothes for them that they can keep. And those clothes can be anything from casual wear to prom wear to professional wear. And we really try to give them a suit, a blazer of some sort, something that they can go on a job interview for and be successful. So that is Ladies Learning to Lead. We're really excited about the things we continue to do for all girls of all shades throughout Florida and Georgia. And we look forward to expanding throughout the nation one day. And thank goodness for this platform. And with Zoom, we're able to reach people from all over. So I'm really excited to have you all here today. Again, if you are on and you want to introduce yourself, say something in the chat to me, and we are more than happy to allow you to do so. In the meantime, I would like to introduce our amazing speakers for today, who are giving their time to speak on some really cool topics. And first, we have our very own, a founder and fan of Ladies Learning to Lead, and our current board chair, Dr. Marcelita Therese. And she will discuss digital dangers, including new issues surrounding TikTok,
Sugar
daddies. Say hello, Dr. Therese.
Hello to everyone. I am so excited to be a part of this digital broadcast. This is a new wave that's coming through, and I'm so glad to be on board. And I can't wait to share with you what's going on in the media world and what's going on with those TikTok sugar daddies.
Wonderful. We are excited about that. That is a new wave of something bad going on online. And we want to know what all is going on out there so we can best serve our girls. So as funny as it may sound, it's a serious issue. And I'm looking forward to hearing about that today. Second, we have an amazing lady from one of my favorite organizations in Tallahassee, 211 Big Bend. And she is one of the experts out there on suicide prevention and depression and all those things, Miss Paulina Lewis.
Hello, everybody. I'm also very, very excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about, weirdly enough, excited to talk about suicide. It's such a big issue right now. Among so many other things, but I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, and we look forward to you discussing that. That's actually one of our First Lady's initiative, the First Lady of Florida, Mrs. DeSantis. That's one of her issues, and she is really adamant about making sure there are solutions and tools and resources out there for youth to help prevent suicide. So that's a really important thank you to the First Lady, Casey DeSantis, for her initiative on that. And continuing in that conversation, last, we have a very cool lady who works for Big Bend Community-Based Care, one of our partners in service. And she is Emily Ratini Reich.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Very honored to be here and to partner with such an awesome organization helping ladies. I'm very passionate about that. So I'm excited to be in such amazing company. And I hope that we can give you all some good information. Of course, echoing a little bit of what Paulina said, sometimes it can be hard or uncomfortable to talk about the topics of suicide. And I think that's part of what makes it so scary, is that there's a lot of taboo behind it. So big takeaway that I hope everyone gets is that even though these subjects can be uncomfortable, the more we engage in those challenging conversations, the better that is for ourselves, our sisters, and our community at large. So very excited, weirdly, also to talk to you all about some challenging topics.
Great. Thank you, Emily. This is going to be really exciting and informative, and we're looking forward to everything you all have to share with us today. Now, before we get started, I'd like each of the young ladies on the call, or we have adults on the call as well who want to learn more about these topics. Think about two things. Think about one, what you already know, and two, what you would like to know. Those are going to be key things. And if you have any comments whatsoever, any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm watching that as we go, and we will make sure you get heard. During this webinar, we will have Q&A. And like I said earlier, we will have a gift card giveaway. So before we get started, we will do a gift card giveaway. And our first $50 gift card will go to Miss Brianna Lewis. So congratulations.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That's congrats.
You're so welcome. And you will get an email from me or one of our team members that tells you where or asks you where your gift card should be going. All right, so congratulations. We're moving on. And we will begin today talking about digital dangers and a really exciting topic on TikTok sugar daddy. So parents, if you've got kids on TikTok and you think it's all just fun and games, think again. There are things going on behind the scenes that are happening with our teens. So please listen up as Dr. Therese tells you more about TikTok sugar daddies and some of the digital dangers and things to avoid online. Dr. Therese, Marcelita.
Hello and great day. I tell you, in researching this particular topic and having the opportunity to talk to individuals at the Tallahassee Police Department who are assigned to this particular area. They actually have a department that deals with internet crimes against children. But not only children, we're talking about adults too, who are not using proper safety measures to ensure that who you think you're talking to is who you desire to talk to. So when we talk about digital dangers, one of the things that we have to look at, it's a little bit different than our typical Zoom or our typical Facebook conversations where we're doing FaceTime and you can see the individual. Most of the time, these individuals don't want to be seen. They would rather for their text to be seen from you and to send a picture that is to your liking. Understanding that these predators are, first of all, researching you before they approach you. So they're on your page, they're actually looking at your child's page, and they're looking at the things that they like and the things that they dislike. They're seeing whether or not there is a parental control that's on that particular account. And those are the ones that they are targeting and marketing. For an example, we're talking about being online and speaking to someone through a form of text. I can be Superman. And that could be my code name, Superman. And I can say, I am a 7-year-old, but I am Superman and I'm pretty shy and I don't want to be seen. But one of the things that you have to demand and to ask, that you get that visual presence to make sure that that is the person that you are engaged in and that you actually want to talk to. Many times we're trying to build what we call our base of friends and our base of followers. So we're accepting followers that we don't know. And the purpose for a lot of these, what we call our different ways through media to reach people is only to connect to people that you know. Even as an adult, if I have a friend who had a page and they don't have a picture on their page, I'm not sure if it's them. I do not befriend that person or allow them to come into my network and my world to have exposure to my friends. So this is the first concept that we need to pass on to our children, to say if you don't know the person and they're trying to become your friend or your follower, you do not accept, okay, unless you know the person. So you build a base based on the people that you know, because what we're having is a lot of individuals who are targeting and marketing from these particular kids, taking pictures from their particular posts. And unfortunately, in the society that we're in today, parents don't take the time to go on their child's page and to visit that frequently. I am on my students' pages. And if I see something that alarms me, then I'm contacting the parent and I'm saying, hey, look, I don't like the screenshot that they put up. It's a guy with a gun to his head and blood's coming down on the other side. It is not presentable, or this is not a proper representation of your home. You need to be aware of what they're posting, because what they're posting is going to attract that particular individual. If they're posting gang violence, then they're going to attract some people who are looking for some new gang members. For the young ladies who are trying to get attention, if you're being seductive, you're going to attract a predator who want to see how seductive are you, and are you willing to put up what you're putting up, what you're posting up. So when we look at the dangers that's behind the screen, we have to make sure as adults that we're monitoring what our children is doing. 1 out of 7 kids are approached by predators online. And if you don't have those safety measures in place, then your child might wind up being a victim. Adults sometimes are victims where people go in, they've already studied your posts, they know what you like, what you don't like. You put your phone number up, you put your address up, you put a picture of your house, and people have more information about you than you realize that you're given. People will befriend you. And they will say, hey, I just want to send you a birthday gift. When is your birthday? It's another way of finding out information about you. And our kids generally, when they're doing passcodes and various different things, they use something they can remember. They don't know their social security number. So they're going to put up their birthday or their mom's name or their dad's name. This is information that they give to individuals. According to their siblings, they tell them about their vacation plans, when we're leaving, where we're going. Yes, I'm home alone right now, and I generally spend all my time on the internet. Not good at all. So we need to make sure that we are forefront and present. But I tell you, reading about the TikTok sugar daddy, I was just at awe. I have the privilege of being in a place where I have children during the day. So I pulled, my teens and just wanted to see how many of them have been approached in this manner. And you all, I can say from my own very own survey, that I have about 20 youth, half of them have already been approached. So this is something, I know the ratio says 1 to 7. I did 20, and that was 1 out of 2. So when we look at it, it is very, very real. Let me tell you about the TikTok sugar daddy. First of all, they come on and they pretend to be of a younger age. They're scanning through all of the TikTok messages, all of the film that is being sent, and they're pulling out the ones that they consider to be most vulnerable. First of all, if the child is dressed provocative and is posted, that means the parent did not see the post, or the parent is not governing what the child is posting. So that becomes a flag for them. They will approach that child and say, hey, I love the post that you did where you were singing. I love how you were grooving, and I like how you were moving your hips and how you were swaying. Hey, I think you're great, and I want to invest in your future. And they will send them about $10 to $20 on their Vim account. And then they'll wait and they'll say, hey, this particular guy just want to listen to someone sing. Can you send me, a copy, do another TikTok of you singing? And this time, could you sing from your bedroom? And so therefore, the child will go into the bedroom, record a song, and post it. Once again, that is not monitored by a parent. That same sugar daddy would come back and say, hey, did you have fun spending the cash that I sent you? Because I'm getting ready to send you $40. And with this, I'm going to ask that you do another one. Hey, but could you do it in your underclothes or your pajamas or no clothes? And our kids fall for that, and they do that, not even understanding who is on the other side. So it's a luring game based on what they like. And for many of them, the cash allows them to buy more games, to be able to do more things. It's like having an online credit card. And so if you're filling my account with these things, my mom doesn't know what I'm doing, and it's fun to me. It is something that they're engaging in. Our kids are online now more than what they're doing in sitting down and watching TV. So now we've moved to the phase in life where being online is what it is. Now you all have to realize we just came out of the entire world almost going to a place where the kids had to do school online. So they become well equipped to Zoom, Google Classroom, and how to navigate the internet systems. So they're excited about taking pictures, about posting, doing TikTok videos, and learning how to put some things together, but they're not being monitored in the process. So the number one piece is to monitor what your child is doing. If your child is younger than 13, they really should not have an independent account. It is really designed for kids who are in their teens and older. So if you got a younger child, they're going to make younger children decisions. It's going to be based on just that. And some of our teenagers, we know that they're not prepared for certain things. I don't know if you all remember that when we first got started into social media, right before Facebook, we had My Page, where you would post a page and the page had everything about you on the page and people could visit your page. Well, that computer process was invaded by so many young people. We went to Facebook, and Facebook used the birth date to determine if the child is old enough to set up a page. Or our children have gotten wise and say, well, I'll just give them an older date to say that I'm 18, but it is a 12-year-old that is trying to navigate Facebook. And some parents will go in and set up a Facebook page for their child that you know you're not going to monitor. So we're living in a day in society where they're hooking up and they're meeting these particular individuals. Here's some tips for you to share with your children, your nieces, or your nephew. Whoever your particular friend is on that page, you need to let them know that in order for me to meet you, I have to bring my best friend along. See if they would grab that. Say, yeah, bring your best friend along, because they're thinking that the best friend is going to be your age. Then you tell the child to put in, because they go everywhere with me. My best friend is my mom and my dad, and we'll meet you there. It is the first piece to see if that person would still then respond or say, hey, I got to connect with my mom and dad and see if this is okay. Because predators don't like the term mom, dad, meeting, best friend, not in no shape or form, because it exposes the true identity. If it's nothing to hide, then we're well and good. For some of them, they're giving them their phone numbers and they're texting. But even in that phone number, say, hey, my best friend want to talk to you and we want to FaceTime you. Are you available tonight to be able to do that? To be able to see the visual of the person that you're talking to. And you can generally judge that by the vocabulary that they're using when you're talking to them, not what they're texting, because these particular predators are pros in using the words that the children will use at that particular time. But you want to get a visual on who it is that you're connecting to. Number two, I said it before and I'll repeat it again. Do not befriend or accept a friendship from anybody you don't know. Opposed to trying to build your fan base, make sure it is filled with people that you know. That is one of the number one. Hackers come in because we let them in because we're trying to build the numbers and we're not looking at what it is that they're going to represent or what it is that they're going to do. This is the season. Our kids are learning a vast variety of different ways to enter into the media system, but they also need to know the rules, the regulations, and what we call the fears and the threats of what's really going on behind social media. So the biggest thing with these TikTok sugar daddies is they're luring the kids with money and they're paying them to do what they enjoy doing. And then they will ask them to do something that's a little bit inappropriate. And then that will begin to grow bigger and bigger as they groom them into what they want them to do. So let's be aware, let's stay conscious and stay woke to what's going on. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Dr. Therese. That was very informative and shocking, to say the least. And so now we know what's happening out there with our young people. So that is wonderful. Are there any questions for Dr. Therese? Let's see, there's a comment. I wish there was a way to require more parent involvement, somehow hold TikTok more accountable.
I would say that TikTok has set up certain measures we're not following the measures. One of the things that they set up, that no one should have an account that is under 13. And there's measures that a parent can put on the phone where you can track what your child is doing. There's also an app that you can download that when your child goes to an inappropriate site, it's going to buzz you, take a picture where they are and send it to you. These are things that we need to put into place to ensure that our children are where they are. But most of the time we give them a laptop, we give them a phone, and we say, go over there and entertain yourself. And they're being entertained, but they might be entertained by a predator. So we have to make sure we put in the proper measures.
That's great. Another comment is, wow, this is really good information. I'm a sexual health educator, and I work with parents to teach them how to communicate with their kids and have conversations surrounding sexual health. I definitely plan to use this information in my presentations.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions or any more comments? Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Therese. That was extremely informative and definitely an eye-opener for all of us who work with youth or have youth in our lives in some way, shape, or form. So we thank you for that. And girls, if you're listening, beware. If you're watching this, beware, be careful, be safe out there.
And Sam, can I say this? You know, I always say some of the hard things, and I may put a little humor on it, but I mean what I am trying to get across. For the young ladies, many times we're looking for a comment, someone to say it's okay, someone else to like our bodies when we are not comfortable with our bodies. But do understand this. You can have someone that can come along, and I've used this example, and they love Pepsi. But if you're offering a free Coke and it's cold, they're going to take it and drink it, and they don't even like Coke, they like Pepsi. The reason why they'll take it and drink it is because it's free. Don't be so easy and so quick to become overwhelmed by the many comments that someone is making. That's only to build you up later to rob you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's good stuff. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right. So we are going to go down to our next speaker and trainer, Miss Paulina Lewis, who will talk to us again about one of our very own First Lady of Florida's initiatives on teen suicide prevention and a bit about depression as well, just tools to help teens who are thinking of doing such a thing, who are thinking of taking their lives, who have no hope, who feel like all things are bad and there's just no way out. And sometimes I think a lot of us feel like that at one point in our lives or another, depending on how rough it has gotten for us. So Paulina is going to talk about how we can get through those rough patches and come out on the other side successful and overcome all of those things you experience when you feel like suicide is the way out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Samantha. I appreciate that. So yeah, I think I'm going to start by kind of going over how often we see suicide. A lot of times when we talk about suicide or mental health in general, it's a result of or following a celebrity suicide, or someone in the community who has died, or someone that we know who has kind of talked about their own mental health issues. We don't often talk about our own mental health, whether that's our own coping skills, what we do to stay healthy, or any struggles we're having. It's rare for us to talk about that just with our friends, or with our family. Usually it's following an event. Usually someone, again, like dying by suicide or attempting suicide. And a lot of times people hope that there is like some magic technique or drug or pill that's going to whisk away depression, whisk away anxiety or their suicidal ideation. And that's just not the case, right? Really, what prevents suicide in general is rebuilding connections with other human beings, rebuilding your support network, and being comfortable with being vulnerable. And that's something that our kind of society right now is struggling with, is being comfortable with being vulnerable, being comfortable with being wrong sometimes, right? It's okay to be wrong as long as you learn from that. A lot of teens and young people feel like we have to have all the answers because we've got our phones and we've got Google, right? So we have really all the answers for a lot of different questions, but not for every single thing. And it's hard for us to be okay with that. So that's where we see, or at least I've seen on our hotlines, where a lot of our callers are struggling. They're struggling with not knowing what to do next. They're struggling with, their future plans not working out, especially at a time like this during the pandemic. People whose whole lives have been derailed, graduations being just completely canceled, a lot of, I know like my brother, for example, he was in his last semester of college and it ended at spring break. He didn't even get a spring break. And that's devastating. When you've looked forward to that last hurrah, that last, few weeks, and that big stage of being congratulated for all of your hard work. And in, a week or so, it gets whisked away from you. And that's painful. But also we see a lot of people who struggle with just general life changes, major life changes. Maybe their parents are getting divorced, or you're getting divorced yourself. You're going through a breakup. Again, not having the answers to, why that's happening, and having a hard time with losing a support system or having to restructure your support system. Again, that is a huge, huge portion of why we see, or some of the reasons, I guess, that we see our callers calling in and having struggles. And of course, there are people who struggle with mental health on a biological sense. So maybe they have a family history of mental illness. I tend to explain it to our new counselors as kind of like I call it a teacup theory. There's probably something more scientific than that. But thinking of every person as your own individual teacup, everyone's filled with a different level baseline. And life adds stress, and life can take away stress. For some people, maybe their baseline is like right at the very tippy top, and it just takes, one or two events and they're overflowing. They're having a really difficult time with just one or two events. Some people start with a really low baseline and they can take a lot of stress. Maybe they have, built up really strong support networks. They've built up really strong coping skills that are difficult to break down, or are less likely to break down for whatever reason. And so they have built up resilience. There are actually resilience classes that people can take as well to learn some of those skills. And so when we come to a point where, our cup is overflowing and we're having a difficult time, we're needing, more than just some coping skills like self-care, distractions. That is where we see people really needing more. So needing something like a therapist or a counselor that they can go to in order to get more professional help. And I've always had the belief also that your therapist should kind of be like your dentist. We should all probably go to the dentist more than we actually do. I know for me, that's true for me. Maybe some people are like, I go to my dentist every 6 months. Like, period. I'm not that person. But we should be going to the dentist more, just like we should be going and seeking mental health help more. right? So we should have kind of a therapist on retainer where if we're having a really rough month, you know, school has been just piling on and piling on, work has been piling on and piling on, your family's been piling on and piling on, you can go to that person and say, we need a couple sessions. I just need to talk this out and I need some perspective. You know, I need another person to help me out with this. And unfortunately, there are a lot of barriers to receiving that kind of care. The biggest one is cost. Therapists cost a ton, right? Psychiatrists cost a ton. And even if you have insurance or your parents have insurance, it can be difficult to even find one. So aside from costs, you might not have a lot of providers in your area. And I know, speaking as a woman of color, it can be difficult to find a therapist of color that maybe you feel more comfortable with. You want to talk specifically about like identity struggles that you're having. I've had a lot of callers, usually young callers, who say I'm being bullied at school because of my skin color or my sexual orientation or my social class. Like, those things are very difficult to talk about for adults, much less for young people who don't have that same kind of at least legal and financial autonomy. So I've seen a lot of young callers struggle even more so with those barriers than adults. And because of that, because they aren't always able to get to those resources when their cup is overflowing, they're really, really reliant on those social structures, on those social networks, on those more soft, I guess, I'm not really sure how else to put that, like ways to help rather than hard professional. So in terms of suicide is an overarching issue in our communities. In the US, over all ages, it's the 10th leading cause of death. If we had a disease that was the 10th leading cause of death, we would be gearing up for a vaccine. We would be, you know, throwing tons of money into research and things like that, and we'd be talking about it. I mean, like, look at the pandemic, right? COVID-19 is not the 10th leading cause of death, and if it was, this would be a whole different conversation. But with suicide, we don't talk about it, kind of going back to my point earlier, we don't talk about it just in our day-to-day lives. We don't talk about, Mom, I'm having a really difficult time right now. You know, I don't feel like myself. And a lot of times we're scared, right? I think Emily had touched on the taboos of suicide and how scary it can be for someone just to say the words, I'm suicidal, right? Or I'm having thoughts of suicide. Because they're not just scary for the person hearing it, they're scary for the person thinking those things. You know, nobody wants to be suicidal. That's not like, you know, something we aspire to be. It's hard, you know, kind of having those thoughts and struggling with those. So in terms of taking care of yourself, it's really important to find someone that you trust, find someone that you feel like has your best interest in mind. And sometimes, unfortunately, in those kind of situations, our best interests are not always what we want to happen, right? So we might not want to go to our parents and say, I need to go to a therapist, or we need to go to the hospital right now. But sometimes that is that's in our best interests at that moment. But finding that person or people that you feel comfortable going to, that you not necessarily know will keep your secret, but again, has your best interest in mind, knows that someone you know that you can trust and that you have a strong connection with them. And if you are someone that has people coming to you with thoughts of suicide or just depression even, there are a few different tools that you can use. So the first one, of course, so I answer the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The first one, of course, is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And that phone number is 1-800-273-8255. I have to have it up because I don't have it memorized. But you can call that number literally any time of the day. We are open 24/7, 365. So if something's going on Christmas Day, you know, you're having a fight with the family and it's just, that is what's starting to overfill your cup, and you need someone to talk to just in that moment, we're open on Christmas. We're open on New Year's, literally any day. And I know right now a lot of teens also might not feel comfortable talking over the phone. So there's also the crisis text line that's available. Lifeline also has a chat service through their website. If you go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org, there's a chat service on there. And then I'm not sure if the Trans Lifeline has a chat service, but they're available also for people who are trans or gender nonconforming. So those are some resources that you can use either for yourself or for others. But also if you're talking to someone else who is suicidal, who is struggling with their mental health, it's really important. The number one thing that we teach is to just listen. And that is, if there is one, that would be like the magic pill, right? It's just someone listening, and recognizing that you're in pain or that that person is in pain. Really briefly, I think the most difficult call that I've ever had was with a person who lost everything after Hurricane Michael. They lived down the Panhandle, and they had a really, really difficult time, and they had to move back into a toxic family situation after working very hard to get out of that. And we'd been talking for a while, for maybe a couple hours. These conversations don't, they don't happen in 5 minutes and like, oh, cool, you're all good. You're totally fine now. Sweet. Like, conversations like that take time. So we've been talking for a little bit. And the thing that really helped them be able to agree to stay safe, at least for the short term, was just acknowledging that what they were going through was difficult, and they weren't crazy. They weren't, losing their mind. It wasn't something shocking, right? Avoiding being shocked and trying to, avoiding convincing them to stay alive. What really helped them was saying, you're right. That makes sense to me. If I had lost my home, my job, I had a near-death experience, I, walked out of my home and saw absolutely nothing. I had to move back in with parents or family members or roommates, whoever, who I didn't believe loved me or trusted me or cared about me. If I had to be in that environment all the time, yeah, I could see that. I could see why you would be thinking about suicide. And they had never heard that. They'd been struggling with suicide for a while. They'd been struggling with what probably was PTSD or depression for a while. And no one had ever told them, that makes sense. Your situation right now is difficult. They had usually gotten the pep talk of, you're strong, you'll get through this, you've gotten through it before, you're gonna do great. Like, and that's awesome. And a person can be strong and get through all those things, but our strong friends also need to be comfortable with being vulnerable and being not so strong 100% of the time. Nobody can be strong 100% of the time. That gets weighty, right? And so being someone that they can go to just take that weight off, just say, oh, like, look at all this baggage I've been carrying around, having someone that you can go to and say that, and they're like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff that you've been carrying around. Having that person, and we don't get a lot of outcomes, but I could hear at the end of that phone call how different they sounded. And I also usually tell our new counselors, our goal is not to fix people's lives. And when you're helping someone, you can't fix their entire life in just like an hour-long call. But what you can do is let them know that you're there for them. Let them know that it is possible for things to get better. But it's not necessarily easy all the time. And to let them know that being safe for just a couple minutes or a couple hours might give them a little time to think about more options rather than trying to take away suicide as an option, allowing them to think of more options while still, proverbially keeping suicide on the very, very back burner, keeping it as plan like Z20 whatever, but having it there and not taking that from them gives them so much power back and so much autonomy back in a time where they may feel like they don't have that power anymore. And that is usually where we see a lot of turnaround. So just being there for people, it sounds really cliche, but it's not. It really does help.
Wow, that was really powerful. Thank you so much, Paulina. And as you know, my heart is with 211 Big Ben, having dedicated over 300 hours of my life to them. And I would do it all over and over and over again. So thank you so much. Suicide prevention is a huge issue, especially amongst our teens and our teen girls. So those tips are really helpful, and I hope that a lot of you got something out of that. Alex will be reading our questions and comments. Alex, do we have anything?
No new comments right now, but everyone can feel free to send anything in the chat.
Great. All right. Thanks again, Paulina. Very, very, very powerful there.
Thank you.
And last, I would love to, last but definitely not least, the Electric Emily. That's her new nickname.
I'm going to use that for sure.
She is bringing those lady boots to the ground to run up and talk to us on some more teen suicide prevention, depression, and other things. So with Big Ben Community-Based Care, thank you so much, Emily, for being here. We look forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thank you so very much. Again, very excited to be here and to be electric. I love the vibes just from everybody. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm a nerd and I have a Prezi. I love a nerd moment. I'm also long-winded, so it helps me like stay focused because I'm also self-aware. So let me, Sam, is it okay if I need your permission to share my screen?
Yeah, I think I can do it from my end.
Because I'm a troublemaker.
Okay, you should be able to do it now.
Okay. Okay. My friends, can you see it? Okay, so social media stress and suicide. I'm gonna do a little bit of piggybacking on what our two fabulous and amazing speakers already talked about. Kind of pull some of the social media stuff in with some of the stress, suicide, coping stuff. And again, just like Paulina said, if there was one takeaway, it would really be listening and those connections. I 1000% agree with that. The way I kind of tiny package that is normalizing those challenging conversations. So that's sort of like a motto of mine. So I want to start off, if my presentation will click, okay, with the safe place note. So of course, everyone in this presentation is amazing, and I've already gotten to know you all a little bit, and I love it. And I know that all of the ladies with Ladies Learning to Lead are very mature and respectful of one another. It's sort of my own personal thing. I like to give a safe place note whenever I'm talking about something that can be a little touchy for people, that we understand that this is going to be an environment free of judgment, and that we understand that this can be a really challenging topic to talk about. This may have, suicide, stress, depression. These things may influence you personally, someone that you know. Certainly, we've seen this in the media and on social media. So these are really personal and challenging topics that can bring up a lot of feelings. So it is my sincerest hope that you all can think of this as a judgment-free zone. And if you have questions, I know it can feel uncomfortable, but throw them in the chat or show us your face, talk to us however, or follow up later. I'm more than willing to follow up later, as I'm sure everyone else in this very supportive group is willing to do follow-ups, because the last thing I want to do is churn up some big feelings and then this amazing webinar ends and you all are still sitting in these feelings and maybe have questions you'd feel more comfortable asking in a one-on-one context. So another thing I want to do that, again, piggybacks with what Paulina said, is in the back of your head, if you can start thinking about a safe and trusted adult. So someone, again, like Pauline said, not someone that's going to keep your secret, but someone that you feel safe discussing things with as we move forward, because again, these can be really big conversations. So social media, right? We love it. We're obsessed with it. Dare I say addicted to it. We all have everything at the tips of our fingers, and it's amazing because we can stay connected to each other, especially during COVID, where we in a lot of ways felt trapped and isolated in our homes. I know personally I felt lucky to have my phone and to be able to post and message and connect with people. We're also seeing now social media, of course, can be used as a powerful movement to spark, acknowledgement and make positive changes in the world. But with that being said, we also know that the social media world can be dangerous and can be very high pressure. I don't know if anyone wants to share, but have any of you ever considered ways that social media has actually brought you down or someone you know down into a negative way? Yeah, me too. So some of the statistics here that was really, I know, meaningful to me was that 35% of ladies 11 to 21 say that their biggest worry is comparing themselves to others. So I think that we can all be honest and say, like, we've all probably had that kind of experience because it's very normal, especially when we're in that vulnerable age, being a preteen, being a teen. The world, especially as women, is designed to put a lot of pressure on us, a lot of unfair and ridiculous beauty standards, so much comparison. So the first thing I want to touch on is really, if we kind of pull the curtain back behind social media and we remind ourselves that what we see is not necessarily what we get. So of course, social media, when it's not as dangerous outwardly, this is still just a highlight reel. This is really people's best and brightest moments and pictures. People have put together or curated this certain vibe that they want to put off. And it's so easy to compare ourselves, to agonize over the way that we look, that they look, that this group of girls or guys or whoever, we can become obsessed with this comparison that can really start to give us a negative self-image and really be damaging to our self-esteem and our self-worth. Even the obsession with how many likes is this post gonna get? I'm gonna post this selfie, and if I don't get 50 likes in the first 2 hours, I'm taking it down because that means the world doesn't wanna see it and I'm not comfortable, and oh my gosh, did I even look cute in that picture? Like, it can become very damaging, and it's so easy to be obsessed with this because it's surrounding us. So I also want to encourage everyone to remember the countless ways that people edit and enhance the way they look online. And we've all heard of some of those, right? So that could be, you know, Photoshop, Facetune, these fillers, these effects. So again, what we see is not always what we get, and that not only ties back to Dr. Therez's conversation about the dangers of people who are completely falsifying their identity for very dangerous, predatory ways, but this also means, you know, those Instagram models, those celebrities, we know that that's not really what they look like, and really humans have flaws, right? So I want to remind everyone, of course, especially during COVID-19, when we all have maybe too much free time to be scrolling on Instagram and scrolling on TikTok, try not to feel stuck in it, right? Has anyone ever been scrolling through and you caught yourself comparing, or you've seen a mean or rude comment that someone has left either on your post or on someone else's post? We see this all the time with influencers and celebrities. And how did that make you feel? Really bad, even if it wasn't about yourself. I know I say I suffer from over empathy. When I see someone tearing someone else down, I feel the hurt and I feel the anger, and I know I want to come to that person's rescue, but we can't always do that. But these are things we need to be thinking about, right? And it's okay to say, I felt hurt, I'm comparing myself to this person. There's days we don't all feel beautiful, but having these conversations, we can be reminding each other and building each other up instead of tearing each other back down. Because in my opinion, and I think all of the ladies here would echo this, to be real is really the most beautiful thing you can be. And have I slapped a filter on my face in a Snapchat picture? You're right, I have. But we also have to find the comfort in understanding what we really look like, who we really are, and finding the beauty in that. But remembering that most of those online personas are not truly 100% that person, their hair, their look, their face, their flawless, their body. And that's really important to remember. So I basically said that, we'll keep going. So you're not alone, and it's important to find the words and the spaces to talk about these things. Otherwise, it's so easy to feel isolated. I find it sometimes ironic when we are so connected. I have the whole world at my fingertips, but at the same time, it's so easy for me to start to feel alone or to start to feel down on myself. So the really, really important thing is to find those people, those friends, those people that you can connect with and share those feelings with, because left unmaintained or untalked about, those feelings can brew and deepen and turn into something more dangerous. So I know what we can do is work together to normalize these different conversations. There's times when everyone in the world is going to have to ask for help. And even though our society has a tendency to make us feel that asking for help is a weakness, I view this as a sign of strength, because we really do rely on each other. It's all about the connections. It's all about, I have your back, you have mine. And if the world globally, if we could all remind ourselves of that, there's a million ways where we'd be in a better situation instead of tearing each other down, feeling ashamed, feeling guilty, and then becoming more and more isolated. Our problems are only going to brew if we keep them to ourselves. But we have all of these ladies in our community and other people in your community. It can just be hard to take that first step and really reach out to whoever that might be. So just to touch a little bit on, you know, if we are in that position where those feelings start to brew, or we have a mental illness, or we have, like Paulina talked about, maybe your family, you have a predisposition to some mental health challenges. Maybe it's the chemistry of your brain, it's biological, maybe it's situational, right? For all of these reasons, sometimes people begin to experience depression or the symptoms of depression. And those things really can take a negative toll on your daily life, even everyday things like sleeping, eating, or managing your schoolwork. So when you're starting to feel this way, or when someone is starting to feel this way, or you're noticing this, that could be feelings of sadness, anxiousness, emptiness, or hopelessness. And that's when things can start to get even more dangerous when left unchecked, right? So this could even be the experience of losing interest in things that previously were fun. But the good thing to know, of course, is that though depression is very common, for the most part, this is very treatable. I don't want to scare anyone, but I do want to just give a little bit of statistics with you all, so that, especially for those parents, educators, nieces, nephews, everyone on this chat, you might be a trusted adult to someone, or you might have the opportunity to become a trusted adult to someone, or you're still a teenager and you're looking for that trusted adult. And in your future, you will be that trusted adult. It's so critical, important. One person can really change your whole life, especially when we see startling numbers like from 2006 to 2016, teen suicide rates alone increased by 70%. That's a startling statistic. 1 in 4 teenage girls report experiencing major depression. And 7 out of 10 teens will tell a friend before attempting to take their own life. So I like that last statistic, though it can be jarring at first, it actually gives me a lot of hope because it reminds us each of the power that we all hold, even when we feel powerless, that you might be that one person that someone feels comfortable confiding in, and you can completely change the path that person may be about to take. So this is treatable, right? Talking about these things and asking for help is the first step. I'm going to go back to that trusted adult thing because for some of us, it's at the forefront of my mind, right? I'm a Girl Scout leader too, and I can think of a million different girls in my life who I hope and I have put in the work to be that trusted adult to them, or students that I've worked with. But sometimes it's not at the top of our head, or it's not easy to talk about, to wonder, who would I come to if I was feeling suicidal? Would I feel comfortable coming to Sam and asking her for help? Well, you only know if you ask and you do reach out, but I want you all to start exploring of that. Some of us, you know, it's very obvious who that person is. Maybe it's someone in our family, maybe it's someone in our community, our churches, our schools. Maybe we have a therapist or a primary care doctor that we can connect with. But if you feel like you don't have one, I want to ensure that everyone walks away today, or if you're watching this in the future, with these resources that can either connect you urgently when you're in need of some crisis intervention, or even hotlines and websites that can help you connect to providers in your area. We know that the healthcare system is not perfect either, and it's not fair to assume that people have access to all of these treatments and ways to help build their coping strategies. So I want to make sure that you all feel comfortable with the resources. But what we can do internally with ourselves and each other is reframe this human experience and reframe what it means to seek support and seek help. We really are a village of people, and when we work together, we are so much stronger. So every mean comment, every, negative thing, cyberbullying, all of these things are just chipping away at that community values and that togetherness that really preserves people's safety and well-being. And each of us ourselves can be supportive and accepting not only of the folks that we're surrounded by, but of ourselves, right? It's so funny to think how hard, especially when I was a teenager, working with girls in middle school especially, we are so fast to come to the aid and the support of our sister. So why are we so hard on ourselves? Imagine if you were your own best friend, the hype that you would be providing to yourself. That's what I love to tell girls. Like, you are your own hype woman, the same way you are for your girls. So really focusing on our own positive attributes and those of the girls and the men, all the people, the folks in our community. It's so easy to fall to the negative, but we can really work to reframe and lean towards the positive. I wanted to challenge you all to think about a way that you could support each other, either on social media or in real life, whether that's sharing people's wins, liking their comments, posting your own wins, bragging on yourself. It's okay to have confidence, right? It's amazing to have confidence. We all have so many special gifts and attributes that we bring to the table. And women, we should be bragging on ourselves more and on each other because we really are a sisterhood. So if then you have that positive, close relationship with people, whether they're your peers or they are adults, and someone shares feelings, maybe they are feeling depressed, they're feeling down, maybe they have feelings of self-harm or suicide, what are we going to do? Because it's very likely that that could happen to you, someone you know, or someone in your community. And this is, again, I'm a broken record, but the trusted adults and the resources, and the major, major thing, which I do think piggybacks off of my new friend Paulina as well, is believing each other's experiences. So trusting that when people tell you that they're in pain, that they mean it, because it's a very challenging thing to verbalize and share with someone. So if someone's speaking out, that is important to really, there's a lot of credibility in people sharing their experiences. And that's something that unfortunately, especially women, unfortunately, sometimes we get beat down and trained that our experiences are less valid or we shouldn't share because we're overly emotional. And that's simply not true, because our emotions are valid, our feelings are valid. And when we need help, we need to speak up. So we can all be influencers in our own way. We can influence social media to be positive. not just social media, but our real lives, right? Everyone has their own unique way that they could be a hype woman or at least combat the bullying and the negativity because there's just too much of it. Beyond that, I want to challenge everyone to remember the things that they love to do that are nothing to do with the computer or your phone, right? Taking a walk, bird watching, just sitting outside, being barefoot in the grass for 5 minutes, yoga, reading a book, literally whatever it is. If it's something positive, our brains need time away from our devices. And with school and work and a lot of our friendships being connected by devices, I feel like our brains are just in overload. So we need to give ourselves and remind our friends and our sisters and our ladies that we need this breathing room just for our own mental health and well-being. So here I just wanted to throw up some of the resources. Again, Paulina was amazing and she already talked about a lot of these. I also added in the Text for Help, which is another texting service, as well as the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. They also have a hotline. They have a website as well. Texting Live with a mental health professional with National Safe Space. That's a really great organization. And then this last one here, this is actually one where you can search for in your area different informations on health hotlines or providers that you can reach out to. So I am going to email this out. I want share it with the world, share it with your neighbors, share it with everybody, because we all deserve to live balanced life. We deserve to have help and connections and positivity. And if you don't have a trusted adult on your life, I volunteer myself today to be that for you. And you can email me or call me. And I promise you there's people all over the world who care about you. You just might not even know them yet. So I leave you with one of my favorite images. A lot of lovely ladies here. I want to encourage you all to keep leading, listening, and learning to ask for help.
Yes. Love that.
I don't know how to unshare my screen. Okay, I got it.
I love that. I love that. I wish there were a way for, I'm using my other hand, but I wish if I could clap right now, I would. Very, very, very nice. Thank you so much for that. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Emily. So on that last slide you showed, there was a text. It said text the word safe to for help. What was that?
Text the word. We have the text home to 741-741. Did you get that one? And then text for help. You literally text the number 4 and HELP, and that's to 44357.
Okay, and you text the word safe to for help.
For help, yeah.
Great. Oh.
And I'll send just the resources as like a list, and then I can send the presentation if you don't want to be as long-winded as I am and just get straight to the goods.
Oh no, that was perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say thank you to all of our speakers today. That was phenomenal. You all really hit on every single thing that we want our young ladies to know. Not only is imperative for you to understand that you can get through suicide and suicidal thoughts and depression, but you can also avoid some of those really dangerous things out there online that can suck you in, and before you know it, you know, you are just in a bad place. And I know even as adults we can get to that place. So thank you all so much for that. Alex, do we have any comments or questions for Emily?
No questions, but Janae did say awesome presentation, so thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks, Janae.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to sharing these resources with our girls and parents. This is going to be a game changer for them. So as we close out, are there any other comments or questions or any last words from our trainers today? Great. Well, I will defer to our board chair. She wears different hats. Today she's a trainer, but I absolutely love when she closes us out on anything, whether it's a meeting, an event, and a webinar. Dr. Marcelita Torres, will you close us out today, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I will. I had myself muted. I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me, Sam?
We can.
All right, awesome. Listen, we got all this knowledge. Knowledge is power, but it depends on how you use it. Some of it we gave ourselves, some of it we received. I learned something today. If we can take what we learned, put it in a post, and post it, even if it's a thought, even if we can just summarize what each person has said and put it on our page. We'll be doing due diligence to those who missed it, and then we'll be the platform for them to hear it. The next piece is encourage others to join in when we get this information to make sure that we can get it out. It's not about who's putting it out, it's about who's receiving it. And so let's make sure that everybody have an opportunity to receive it in this particular season. All right, because we want to make sure that individuals are hearing what they need to hear. So in that moment of crisis, they have the tools that they can work with. At least they'll have the knowledge, and we want to ensure that. You all were absolutely amazing. And I tell you, I've jotted down some notes. That's why I'm kind of crunk to the side to make sure I'm able to give this information back. I'm already going to sign myself up to say on tomorrow when we're doing character development that I'm going to mention some of the things that was said to make sure that the 38 kids that I have an ear to on tomorrow will be able to gather this information and have this as a tool. This is just not something to do to fill time, but it's something to do to change the time that we're in. I am ecstatic. I'm so glad that I am a part of this wonderful presentation. I'm so glad that it's being recorded, that individuals will be able to hear it. Let's make sure that it gets in the eyesight and into the ears of others. Once again, thank you, ladies. This is how we teach ladies and others to lead. It's on you, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you once again, ladies. And we hope you all will join us for our next webinar, Cyber Leaders, Learning How to Be a Leader Online, June 23rd, 2020. Thank you all.